Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, Counter Spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
A 16-year-old Shirley Temple stars with George Burns and Gracie Allen in this episode of the program from 77 years ago, January 8th, 1945, as Shirley's trying for a part in a motion picture that requires an older man to co-star, and of course, that brings George into play, don't you know? This is a Armed Forces radio episode of the program, and so all the commercials have been removed, and we've had to remove a whole lot of music from the show as well. But we will bring you a great show here, and I think you'll enjoy George and Gracie and Shirley Temple and her comedy chops. And we thank you for tuning in on this Saturday. It is the 8th day of January, 8th day of 22, and we have 358 days till we get to 2023. George Washington delivered the first State of the Union address in 1790 in New York City. The Battle of New Orleans. Andrew Jackson led American forces in victory over the British in the War of 1812. That was on this date in 1815. Alfred Vail demonstrated a telegraph using dots and dashes in 1838. This would be the forerunner of Morse code. Crazy Horse and his warriors fought their last battle with the cavalry, I should say, in 1877 in Montana. Herman Hollerith received a patent for his electric tabulating machine in 1889, the predecessor of the calculator. President Woodrow Wilson announced his 14 points for the aftermath of World War II in 1918, and in 1959, the conquest of Cuba by Fidel Castro completed with the conquest of Santiago de Cuba in 1959. In 1962, Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa exhibited in the U.S. for the first time in the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C. President Johnson on this date in 1964 declared a war on poverty in the U.S.
A world of peace and justice and freedom and abundance for our time and for all time to come.
The war on poverty continues to be fought to this day. In 1973, the trial of 7 men accused of placing bugs in the Democratic headquarters at the Watergate began. And in 1975, Judge John Sirica ordered 3 major Watergate figures freed and reduced the sentences of the 3, John Dean, Herbert W. Kalmach, and Jeb Stuart, to the time they had already served.
We're very pleased with Judge Sirica's order. Of course, it's a tremendous surprise, and we're just very happy. I'm glad to be back with my family again. I'm just surprised and very pleased.
Calm back there, as shocked as Magruder and Dean. Ella Grasso became governor of Connecticut on this date in 1975, becoming the first woman to serve as a governor in the U.S. who did not succeed her husband. In 1982 on this date, AT&T agreed to divest itself of 22 subdivisions.
Today's action clears the way for a new order in the telephone industry. It will encourage competition, and it will do so without sacrificing the American consumer's need for economical, dependable, and readily available telephone service.
AT&T Chairman Charles L. Brown, and of course things would change up so dramatically over the next 20, 30 years that they never would have suspected that landlines were no longer the status quo in America. For communication at that point in time, where you had the cordless phones, would essentially become totally cordless, totally wireless. Sitting U.S. Congresswoman Gabby Giffords shot in the head on this date in 2011 along with 18 others in a mass shooting in Tucson. Gifford survived the assassination attempt. 6 others died, including federal judge John Roll. It was a sad situation, but you will never do away with crazy people, especially if you just do away with guns. Passing away on this date, inventor Eli Whitney, Stymie, Matthew Beard of the Our Gang comedies, British actor-comedian Terry Thomas, very funny man. Also actor Pat Buttram, better known as Mr. Haney on Green Acres. The Wendy's founder, Dave Thomas, passing away on this date, as did Lily from the original Lily from the Munsters, Yvonne DiCarlo. Singer, songwriter, producer, pastor Andre Crouch, and a man probably best known for some of his sketches on Saturday Night Live, but also did a lot more. Acting and screenwriting, directing, Buck Henry, passing away just 2 years ago. This is the birth date of the king, Elvis Presley.
I went into Sun Records, and there was a guy in there that took down my name, told me he might call me sometime. So he called me about a year and a half later. I went in and I made my first record.
And he made a lot of them. And our friends in Memphis, Tennessee, and all down that neck of the woods still remember to this date Elvis Presley. Sad we've got a generation that never remembers what all the excitement was about Elvis. Also, he won an Oscar for his role in Cyrano de Bergerac, also from the Caine Mutiny. Jose Ferrer, born on this date. Speed reading educator Evelyn Wood. Comedian Soupy Sales. Funny man. Physicist and author Stephen Hawking and David Bowie, all born on this date in history. From F Troop, Larry Storch is still with us at 99 years of age. CBS commentator on the road, Charles Osgood, 89. Singer Shirley Bassey, 85 today. Game show host Bob Eubanks is 84. Actress Yvette Mimieux is 80. From Field of Dreams and Uncle Buck, Gabby Hoffman is 40. From The Half-Blood Prince and Pitch Perfect, Freddie Stroma is 35. And Miley Cyrus's younger sister, actress Noah Cyrus, is 22. Those just a few people who celebrate the 8th day of January as their birthday. And if this happens to be your birthday,
happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
All right, we're going to go back 77 years, January 8th, 1945. George Burns, Gracie Allen here on Classic Radio Theater.
What does it mean to be an American? Just what are our American values? Working hard to succeed, loving God, country, and family, being honest, strong, and compassionate.
Supporting our Constitution and recognizing that we are blessed to be living in America, the greatest country in the world.
Our Bill of Rights protects us, our freedoms of worship, speech, and privacy, our right to own firearms, our right to trial by jury,
our right to be free, to live our own lives without some bureaucrat telling us what to do. Most countries don't have these rights.
Want to know more? It's all there in the book. Get your own free book, The U.S. Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. Then read it again, and this time share it with your friends. Our great Constitution is the basis of all of our freedoms, our inalienable rights. Get your own copy at freeusbook.com.
Brought to you by the American Media Council.
Just a reminder, in case you haven't heard, our podcasts have moved. We are now found at Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. And you can find those on Spreaker. You can find those on Spotify. Just search for Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now we go back 77 years, January 8th, 1945. George Burns and Gracie Allen on this Saturday Classic Radio Theater.
Oh, meet the people who live in the Burns house. George and Gracie.
Oh, is my darling getting plenty of breakfast this morning?
Sure.
More sugar in your coffee?
No, thanks.
Oh, that's right. You don't need sugar. It's sweet after it passes those honey-lined lips of yours.
Sure.
Marmalade on your toast?
Okay.
Jelly on your marmalade?
Gracie, why are you being so nice this morning?
Oh, am I nicer than usual?
Well, you don't usually spell out I love you with the link sausages. Whenever you're this nice, I know you're building up to some bad news.
Oh, suspicious you. I bet you think I bought a new hat.
Did you?
No. I'll bet you think I banged up the fender on the car.
Did you?
No. I bet you think my mother's coming to visit us.
Is she?
Yes.
Again? She was just here 5 years ago.
Why, George, you sound like you don't want my mother to come.
I don't.
Well, shame on you. I don't know how you can look Mama in the face.
Believe me, it isn't easy.
Why, George Burns, remember how nice Mother was when you visited her?
She was nice?
Certainly. When you left, didn't Mama come to the train to see you off and bring candy and magazines?
I don't remember it.
Well, I do. As the train pulled out, there stood Mama eating and reading and waving goodbye.
Gracie, your mother is not coming. Now forget it. Shirley Temple will be here in a few minutes. She's on our radio show tonight, you know.
All the more reason why Mother should be here. She knows how to take care of little children.
Little children?
Why, sure. What are we going to do when it's time to birth little Shirley?
Gracie, Shirley Temple is not... Oh, here she is now. Come in, Shirley.
Hello, George. Hi, Gracie.
Oh, it's Harry Von Zell.
Oh, Harry, we thought you were Shirley Temple.
Well, I'm sorry, George. I'll see you later.
I will put my foot down. Gracie, come here.
Oh, did you call me, dear?
Yes. I've decided that your mother will not set foot in this house.
Yes, dear.
I'm laying down the law.
Yes, dear.
Am I the boss around here?
Yes, dear.
Okay. Sorry to talk so rough.
Oh, well, that's all right. But don't talk like that after Mother gets here.
Gracie, your mother is not...
All right, dear, all right. Calm down. You don't want to be angry when little Shirley Temple arrives. Why, you'll scare her so badly she'll drop her dolly.
And that's another thing. Shirley Temple is no longer a child.
Oh, don't be ridiculous. I saw her in a picture just the other night. But she's a tiny little thing.
What picture was that?
Little Miss Marker.
Gracie, what you saw was a revival.
Revival? Oh, George. There wasn't a single hallelujah in the whole picture.
Okay. Shirley Temple is a baby.
Well, sure. Now, when she gets here, you let her sit on your lap.
Sure. I'll put her right on my lap.
Come in. Oh, well, hello, young lady.
Hello. I'm Shirley Temple.
Well, my goodness, Shirley. You're a beautiful young woman.
I'll say.
George Burns, you get rid of that lap look.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, nothing, Shirley. Have you met Mr. Burns?
No, I haven't. How do you do?
How do you do, Shirley?
Gee, you look nothing like your daughter.
Huh?
Oh, no, he's not my father. I'm married to him.
Oh, golly, Mrs. Burns, what a mistake.
What?
I'm sorry.
Well, if you girls will excuse me, I've got to get busy.
Oh, George, dear, do you want to run to the telegraph office first and wire Mother to come?
No, dear. I'll see you later.
Well, that's a husband for you. Shirley, take a tip. Don't get married.
Oh, I don't plan to get married until I'm middle-aged. You know, about 22.
Well, I just can't get over how grown-up you are. And I thought you were just a child.
Oh, that's the trouble. Everybody thinks I'm still a child. That's why I came over early. Mrs. Burns, I'd like to ask you a favor, woman to woman.
Make it girl to girl, and I'll see what I can do.
Well, there's a part in Mr. Selznick's new picture that I'm simply dying to play. But he says I'm too young. It's a girl who thinks she's in love with a much older man. A terribly attractive, sophisticated, fascinating man.
Sort of a George Burns.
Oh, yes. Yes. But later the girl realizes that she's really in love with the young man. Now, I was thinking if we could do something like that on your radio program, Mr. Selznick would hear it and let me play the part in the picture.
Oh, all right, Shirley. You and George can play the... Oh, say, is there a scene where the older, sophisticated man's wife comes in and catches you and makes her husband invite her mother to visit them?
No, I don't think so.
Well, there is now.
Oh, I'm all excited about our plans, Mrs. Burns. Who will we get for the part of the young man who wins my love?
Oh, well, now, don't worry about that, Shirley. We'll find someone. Oh, pardon me.
Good morning, Mrs. Burns. Here's your mail.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Postman. Lovely morning, isn't it?
Gorgeous. There's a tang in the air that makes me feel like an apple-cheeked boy again.
Boy? Say, how would you like to win the love of a beautiful young girl?
No, thanks. I did that when I got married. You should see her now.
Oh, no, it's nothing like that. I'm looking for a boyfriend for Shirley Temple.
Shirley Temple?
Yes.
Good gracious, does she play with live toys now?
Oh, no, you don't understand, Mr. Postman. I just want you to play a scene with Shirley Temple. Mr. Selznick will be listening.
Oh, no, he might put me in pictures.
Well?
And I'd become a big, glamorous movie actor.
Yes.
And my wife would fall in love with me all over again.
Yes.
And that shouldn't happen to a dog. Well, goodbye, Mrs. Burns. Remember, keep smiling.
Oh, well, don't worry, Shirley. Harry Von Zell can play the part of the young man.
All right. Meantime, I can rehearse the scene with the old man.
Sure, George is in the den.
I'll go in and tell him the plot.
Oh, no. This is your chance to prove that you can play grown-up parts. Now, if you're able to convince George with your acting, you can certainly convince Mr. Selznick.
Why, that's a wonderful idea. You're clever, Mrs. Burns.
Well, that's life. Some people are clever and some people are pretty. I just happen to be both. Oh, and remember the scene we added, Shirley, where I come in and catch you.
Well, all right, but that's going to put Mr. Selznick in a quandary.
And my mother in a spare room.
Well, here I go.
Oh, hello, Shirley. Something you want?
Yes, you. Fascinating, irresistible you.
Huh?
I can hide it no longer. You are the man I love.
Me?
Yes, I want a man who has lived.
But Shirley...
And you've lived and lived and lived and lived.
Now, wait a minute.
I know. You're going to say there's too much difference in our ages.
Well, there is.
It doesn't matter.
A little.
It doesn't matter. You're my ideal. You're the most fascinating man in the whole world.
Oh, no, I'm not. There are lots of men as fascinating as I am.
Name one.
Well, there's, well, I can't think of any right now.
Let the other girls rave about Sinatra and Van Johnson. I prefer a man like you. The Lewis Stone type.
Look, Shirley.
Well, what if you are old enough to be my grandfather? So is my grandfather, and he's awfully nice.
Shirley, you're just a kid. I'll bet plenty of swell boys are crazy about you.
Oh, I don't want boys. I want to go through life with you. And if any boys annoy me, you'll beat them off with your cane.
I can't. Now, Shirley, calm down and get a grip on yourself. And before you say another word, count to 10.
Well, all right.
I heard what you were saying.
We weren't saying anything.
Say something, Shirley.
Mr. Burns, I'm mad about you.
I heard what you were saying. So, Shirley Temple, you little husband snatcher. You're trying to snatch my little husband.
Oh, Gracie.
Oh, go, Shirley. Go and leave me alone with this gray bluebeard.
Gracie, I can explain everything. Please, it wasn't my fault. The poor kid couldn't help herself.
I suppose you did nothing to encourage her.
Nothing, believe me.
George Burns, Gracie Allen, and Shirley Temple in a George Burns, Gracie Allen show, originally broadcast 77 years ago today, Monday, January 8th, 1945, here on this Saturday Classic Radio Theater. We'll have the news from 77 years ago and the conclusion of George and Gracie when Classic Radio Theater continues in just a moment, right here on your favorite radio station.
You know, if you feel like you're stuck with a health care plan you don't like, right now is a great time to switch to MediShare. They'll waive your new member fee if you join by January 15th. So that's $170 in addition to all the other savings. The typical family saves $500 or more per month. And MediShare has double the customer satisfaction rate when compared to health insurance. Double. Again, join by January 15th and save even more. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE.
And you're listening to Classic Radio Theater on your favorite station. We are listening to an episode of the Burns and Allen Show as it was originally broadcast on Monday, January 8th, 1945. In the newspapers of that Monday, 77 years ago, these were some of the headlines. The Tokyo Radio reported more than 450 American transports streaming north toward Luzon Island in the Philippines, where Japanese broadcasts said more than 70 warships and swarms of carrier planes bombarded Linguan Gulf, 120 miles north of Manila, continuously for 2 days. The Tokyo broadcast, recorded by the Federal Communications Commission, said that whether the transports would be poured into Linguan or in the vicinity of Manila remains a question. But in either case, it is a surety that the enemy will play right into the waiting Japanese hands. Those the words of Tokyo Radio. In the 2-day duel between warships and shore batteries at Linguan Gulf, Japanese broadcast said defending batteries gave the American flotilla the hottest reception ever recorded in the annals of war. Propaganda broadcasts described the air and naval bombardments as the enemy's usual tactics preceding a landing and forecast Yank assault troops might storm the shore at any time. A dispatch from the Japanese Domite news agency said the whole Gulf roared with the blasts of gunfire from both sides throughout Saturday and Sunday. Other broadcasts reported 3 powerful American convoys speeding northward to join the assault, one of undisclosed side west of Mindoro, 150 transports south of Mindoro, and 25 warships farther south, all heading in the general direction of Manila. Congress took a proceed with caution attitude toward President Roosevelt's request for legislation permitting the drafting of nurses. Chairman May, the Democrat of Kentucky, said the House Military Committee would study the president's suggestion after considering his request for work or fight legislation aimed for Fs. Before taking any action, May said the committee probably would hear Major General Norman T. Kirk, Surgeon General of the Army. Quoting the Chairman May, "We must consider also the effect a draft of nurses would have on the civilian health situation," May said, adding that he favored a draft only as a last resort. Mile or more advances by the American 1st and 3rd Armies in the worst blizzard of the winter narrowed the waist of the Belgian salient to less than 10 miles tonight and caused Field Marshal von Rundstedt to speed the withdrawal of his survivors from the western wing of the salient. Lieutenant General Courtney H. Hodge's First Army captured 5 villages and won domination of 15 miles of St. Vith-le-Rouge Highway, one of the last escape routes for 3 crack panzer divisions in the toe of the Sauk of the Bulge. The other road leading up through Haubersing was under artillery fire from both sides of the salient. Meanwhile, the German High Command declared today its counteroffensive northwest of Budapest had gained up to 25 miles and that the garrison of the Hungarian capital was still holding its own. 2 Roman Orthodox priests and a Romanian publisher given prison terms in federal court in Detroit today for failing to register as agents of exiled King Carol of Romania in an alleged effort to bring him into the U.S. and ultimately to restore him to the throne. Judge Edward J. Moynett, upgrading the trio from the bench, sentenced them to terms ranging from 2 years to 5 years and imposed fines of $500 to $3,000. They had pled nolo contendere, no contest, and last week had been refused permission to withdraw the plea. The Luxembourg radio said that 27 milligrams of radium, together with documents signed by Madame Curie, had been discovered by American authorities in a captured German hospital. The broadcast said both the documents and radium were being held until their ownership could be established. President Roosevelt favors the general principle of legislation giving the insurance business a moratorium from the Sherman Antitrust Act until March 1st of 1946, except for acts of boycott, coercion, or intimidation. The White House made public correspondence between the president and Senator Radcliffe, the Democrat of Maine. Mr. Roosevelt said in a January 2nd letter, such a moratorium would give the insurance business sufficient time to readjust itself to the Supreme Court decision holding insurances in commerce and therefore subject to the antitrust laws. And Philip M. Donnelly, a Democrat, sworn in as the 41st governor of Missouri today. 5-day gap between the time Donnelly's job as a state senator ended and his new one as governor began, and those 5 days the only time he's been out of public office since he was elected to the Missouri House of Representatives 22 years ago. And those some of the day's top news stories as reported in the newspapers of Monday, January 8th, 1945. On your radio, Burns and Allen with guest star Shirley Temple. The conclusion next on this Saturday, Classic Radio Theater on your favorite station. Mike Lindell, the inveterate CEO of MyPillow, wants to give back to listeners. You can get great discounts on all MyPillow products if you go to MyPillow.com. Click on the radio listener special. Deep discounts on all MyPillow products like the buy one, get one free special on Giza Dream Sheets. All MyPillow products come with a 60-day money-back guarantee, 10-year warranty. Call 1-800-951-8175 or go to MyPillow.com. Click on the radio listener special. Use my promo code USA. On our Sunday Classic Radio Theater, John Wayne in his original screen role of Stagecoach, an episode of the Screen Director's Playhouse from 73 years ago, January 9th, 1949. The classic story based on the 1939 movie about the Ringo Kid, the Plumber Boys, and the Apaches. That's on our Sunday Classic Radio Theater. A reminder, learn more by going to classicradio.stream. That's classicradio.stream. Now the conclusion of George Burns, Gracie Allen with Shirley Temple from 77 years ago, January 8th, 1945.
And if any boys annoy me, you'll beat them up with your cane.
My cane. Now, Shirley, calm down and get a grip on yourself. And before you say another word, count to 10.
Well, all right.
What you were saying.
We weren't saying anything.
Say something, Shirley.
Mr. Burns, I'm mad about you.
I heard what you were saying. So, Shirley Temple, you little husband snatcher. You're trying to snatch my little husband.
Oh, Gracie.
Oh, go, Shirley. Go and leave me alone with this gray bluebeard.
Gracie, I can explain everything. Please, it wasn't my fault. The poor kid couldn't help herself.
I suppose you did nothing to encourage her.
Nothing, believe me. Is there anything I can do to prove it? What?
Move all your things into the spare bedroom.
You're sleeping alone from now on?
No, you are. I'm sleeping with my mother.
Oh, no, she's not coming here. Okay, I'll go right down and send your mother a telegram.
That's better. Men are so easy to handle.
Please, Gracie, couldn't we... Okay.
Say, I must make a note of that word. Oh, Shirley, you were wonderful in that scene with George.
Thank you, Mrs. Burns.
How did you make it sound so convincing?
Well, that's a little acting trick my mother taught me. I just kept saying over and over to myself, he's Joseph Cotton. He's Joseph Cotton. And pretty soon, he began to look like Joseph Cotton.
Your mother taught you that?
Yes.
And my mother wasted her time teaching me to cook and sew. Of course, when you get right down to it, that's not so hard. There's a lot of cotton in George.
I knew that couldn't be all Mr. Burns in front.
That's Harry Von Zell. I called him and told him to come over.
Is he going to play the part of the young man?
Yes, he's the one you give up George for.
Oh, tell me, Mrs. Burns, is he really young and handsome?
Well, you know that trick your mother taught you?
Yes.
Don't forget it. Now, when I introduce him, you go right into the scene.
Hello, Gracie.
Oh, come in, Mr. Von Zell. I'd like you to meet Miss Shirley Temple.
Oh, how do you do, Miss Temple?
Oh, Harry, when I see you standing there, so young, so slender and tall, so handsome, I realize it's you I love. I'm mad about you, Harry.
How do you like that? It's happened again.
Let me see, where was I? Oh, yes. Don't you see, Harry, we were meant for one another. It's youth calling to youth. They can't stop us. I'm 17 and you'll soon be 21.
I'll soon be 20. Was a scene? You mean you were just acting?
Sure.
Well, Shirley's got to do a scene in our program tonight where she thinks she's in love with an older man, played by George.
Oh, well, that takes acting.
But she's really in love with a young man, played by you.
That takes acting? No, well, so long, girls. I'll see you at rehearsal. Oh, George, hello. Where have you been?
Telegraph office. Just wired Gracie's mother to come visit us.
Well, I thought you didn't want her.
I don't, but Gracie's got me over a barrel. You see, Shirley Temple has fallen madly in love with me.
Huh? Oh, I see.
Well, that's not funny, Harry. That kid falling in love with me. Why, I'm old enough to be her brother.
Oh, well, George, listen, don't kid yourself any longer. Shirley and Gracie were just trying out a scene for the program tonight.
Well, I'll be darned. And Gracie just used that to get me in a spot.
Sure.
I'll get even with that
Goodbye,
Gracie.
Mrs. Burns.
Goodbye.
I'll see you at rehearsal. Oh, hello, Mr. Burns.
Hello, Shirley. Say, that scene that we're going to do on the program tonight, I've got a new ending for it.
You have?
Yes. You decide that you're really in love with me. And you tell my wife that we're going to run away together.
But, Mr. Burns, even on the radio, isn't that kind of unbelievable?
I'm sure you can make Gracie believe it. You're a fine actress. Let's go in and try it.
All right. Mrs. Burns?
Yes, Shirley?
I realize now that it's your husband I really love. He has captured my heart.
But Shirley, you're supposed to fall for a young man, a Frankie Sinatra or a Van Johnson.
Well, Mr. Burns is a sort of combination. From the front he looks like a Frankie, and from the back he looks like a Van.
Goodbye, Gracie. Shirley and I are leaving now.
Yes, Mrs. Burns. I'm going to run away with him.
Shirley, you can't run away with a man George's age. The best you could possibly do is walk.
Gracie, this isn't funny. Shirley means what she's saying.
Yes, I do, Mrs. Burns. Don't laugh. He's what every young girl dreams about. Just look at that handsome face.
I'm looking.
Just look at that glorious physique.
I'm looking.
Just look at that profile.
Yeah, go on.
I can't.
Shirley, remember?
I'm sorry, Mr. Burns. I just can't do that new ending of yours. I'll see you at rehearsal. Goodbye.
New ending of yours? Oh, so you put her up to this. It was a scheme to frighten me.
I did exactly the same. You did exactly the same thing to me. Your scheme was the same as mine.
It was not. Mine worked.
Yeah, you're right. By now, your mother is on her way here from San Francisco.
Oh, darling, look. I don't want you to be unhappy about Mother taking that trip. Let's compromise.
Okay.
Are you willing to go halfway?
Well, sure.
Good. Take the car and meet Mother in Sacramento. That's halfway.
Now, here are George and Gracie.
Oh, Shirley.
Yes, Mrs. Burns?
Shirley, the Selznick picture, since you went away, has been chosen the #1 picture of 1944 by the junior critics of the National Board of Review. And since you are the junior star of the picture, it's my pleasure to present you with this lovely award.
Oh, thank you, Mrs. Burns. And thank you, junior critics, in behalf of all the stars in the picture and Mr. Selznick. Good night.
Good night, Shirley.
From 77 years ago, George Burns and Gracie Allen on Classic Radio Theater. And as long as we're in the funny mood, let's listen to Bob and Ray in an episode of...
Next, Mary Backstage, Noble Wife. The story of America's favorite family of the Footlights and of their fight for security and happiness against the concrete heart of Broadway. Today, the Russian trawler, which picked up Mary, Harry, Calvin, Pop, and Miss Rogers at sea, has just docked at Rose Wharf in Boston. And our friends are awaiting instructions on proceeding through customs, as we hear.
Well, we just have to follow orders now. They said to leave by this gangplank and proceed directly to that door over there where it says U.S. Customs.
I discovered that we weren't standing on the orlop deck. That's the lowest deck on a war vessel.
I don't know.
Where they keep cables coiled up. We were on the forward poop.
I thought we were, not on an orlop deck.
No, it didn't seem like an orlop deck to me. Oh, I see what you mean, Miss Rogers.
What does she mean? I don't know, Ike.
That band assembled there on the dock.
Oh, is that for us, do you suppose?
I don't know. They're waving at us.
Are you waving? Hello. Where the backstage is?
I'm Harry Backstage, famous Broadway star. This is my wife, Mary Backstage.
I'm Mary Backstage. I'm not a backstage, really. I'm Calvin L. Hoover.
I'm Pop, beloved stage doorman. I'm also in Westchester Furioso, where I tap dance. That's Miss Rogers, who's going to be added to the cast by Greg. Greg, there's Greg down there in the dock.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Greg.
Welcome to Boston.
Well, we're happy to be here. You wouldn't know what we've been through. We were taken out of Mystic Seaport by Captain...
Well, hold it. Wait till you get through customs and you can tell me everything.
Yes. How soon do we depart the vessel?
Well, as soon as you can get off. As soon as you get an okay from the captain, you can... Can you hear me up there?
Yes.
As soon as you get the okay from the captain, you can leave the vessel.
Well,
okay, strike up the band. Brought a little band along for you.
Hey, that's a very nice touch, Mr. Barlow. A real musical welcome here in Boston. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I have a message for you, Miss Rogers. No, I don't know. I'll see you when you get through customs.
Captain, I wonder if we could have the right to leave the ship, to disembark now.
Do not proceed.
Thank you
Stay
very
here.
much. And again, thank you for saving us. Go ahead, Mary. You first.
All right.
Now me. All right, now we just go through that door over there. Greg,
let me hold the door for you. There you are.
Come right in here, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, hello, sir. We just got off this Russian fishing trawler, and they told us we had to go through customs now.
That's right. Well, it's just a mere formality. My name is Mr. O'Reilly. I'm the customs inspector here. Do you have any luggage? No, I'm afraid
we don't. You see, if you have time for a story, because we have a long one to tell you, sir.
Well, wait till I get Mr. Marlowe. He'll hear it at the same time. You won't have to tell it twice. Mr. Marlowe?
I better stay in back of the counter. I don't want to go through customs.
Well, it's just a formality. Let me have that can of spray deodorant there, will you, please?
There you are.
All right.
What in the world is that?
Well, we do this to anybody going into the country from a foreign vessel.
Oh, hey.
All right. Now, do you want to tell that long story while Mr. Marlowe can hear it?
You got this stuff all over me.
Well, that's an old suit anyway.
Well, I know it's an old suit, but who needs that all over you?
Well, you see, we stopped at Mystic Seaport, Connecticut.
Like a gasoline tank. What's in that stuff, anyway?
Oh, it's a chemical of some kind.
What, does it kill all walking insects or something?
That's right, and it has a very pleasant odor, too, you'll notice.
Not particularly.
Well, anyway, we were shanghaied by Captain Larson aboard the whaling boat, the Morgan, the Charles W. Morgan. He was going to Yokohama.
That's right. He's going to go to Yokohama. Then he put us over the side in the dinghy when we explained to him our situation.
Then we were picked up by the Russian fishing boat, the captain of which you just saw there on the orlop deck.
Is that, do you follow?
Yes, I think I've got the story. Have you, Mr. Marlowe?
Why, I guess I understand it. Oh, Miss Rogers, I have information for you. You must return to New York immediately.
And so our friends have arrived in Boston and are proceeding through customs. You want to be here tomorrow when we'll hear Greg Marlowe say,
Miss Rogers, you must return to New York. It's very important.
That's tomorrow in the next exciting episode of Mary Backstage Noble Wife. Word Carr speaking.
That's Bob and Ray on Classic Radio Theater. Please thank this station and support their advertisers. It is our kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every Saturday at this time. Don't forget, our shows are available anywhere podcasts are served. Just search for Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. That's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. That is a new address, so look for it. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. You can find them through Spreaker or through my webpage, classicradio.stream. That's classicradio.stream. Have yourself a great Saturday. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater on your favorite station.